It's going to be tough to win basketball games if you turn the ball over 20 plus times. 15 in the first half, cleaned it up a bit in the second half, but it's going to be tough to win these style of games when you do that. Give the ball to the other team. There were some silver linings, some good things that happened in the Spurs preseason loss to the Miami Heat, and we're going to break it all down here on Spurs Digest with your host, Keenan Warner. Make sure you take a spur of the moment, get every Spurs moment, hit that subscribe button, grow with us because we're going to be posting daily content like we do now, but during the regular season, it's going to be hot, it's going to be great, so you don't want to miss any of that moving forward. But 21 turnovers cost the Spurs big. Heat prevail at home for a win in the preseason. And again, does this count during the regular season roster or regular season record? It doesn't, and that's perfectly fine. But at the same time, the preseason's where you tune up, fine-tune some things, and there are things that need to be tuned up moving forward if the Spurs want a chance to be a competitive team this season. They hit the road for the first time in the preseason, had a goal to get their third straight win. They've had some 2 good games. Obviously, they were 2-1. There are some overreactions, some underreactions. We'll break down all of those here. And then they ran into a really good Miami Heat, well-coached team. I mean, Jimmy Butler played, Bam played, all of the big guys played, Tyler Hero, and Eric Spoelstra is one of the best coaches in the league. He's up there, Tim Pop, Steve Kerr, there's a few others, but those are going to be your high coaches in the league. I mean, he was voted the best coach in the league, and I get it's preseason, but at the same time, this is an indication because a lot of the starters played and they were playing for real minutes and they were playing for a real win. Miami is a great physically, and Pop said they got after us and let that get to us. So Gregg Popovich understands the physicality of Miami, as does a lot of Eastern Conference teams. They've never been the most talented over this last 6 years, but they've made 2 finals appearances because you've got the greatness of Jimmy Butler matching whomever on the other side, and then the grit, the tenacity, the energy, Bam protecting the rim, being able to switch, and then the Heat just never dying, whether it's Caleb Williams, whether it's been Tyler Hero, especially in the bubble, whatever the case may be, this Heat team has always been a tough team to play against. But the Spurs, for the most part, kept with their host despite self-inflicted wounds. Charles Bassey, first minute since December 10th with the torn ACL. He's coming back from that. It's going to be big, pun intended, because it's going to be big for the Spurs to get another big. You've obviously got Zach Collins, you've got Wemby, Sochan 6'8", Champagne's around 6'7", 6'8", not that he's a big, he's more of a wing, but you've got City, they've got multiple bigs that they can throw out there, and I understand their depth and the talent isn't always there, but they do have some promise and they do have some people that they can throw. That was something I was going to be more concerned about going forward, but as these players come back and they showcase what they can do, the size might not be as big of a deal off the bench as once thought. But you had Jeremy Sochan, who did lead the way with 18 points, 11 rebounds, double-double. He actually said after the game, too, speaking on what Pop said, we had too many turnovers today. So it's about learning from a team like that who's experienced and been through battles. Again, as I said, 2 finals appearances. They've been to multiple conference finals playing against the Celtics. They played against the Bucks. They played against every great Eastern Conference team, and they've beaten every great Eastern Conference team at least once over their last 6-year stretch in the playoffs when it matters most. But you had Keldon Johnson and Malachi, who had 15 apiece. You had Chris Paul with 13 and 5 assists. I believe he had 6 turnovers as well. With the Sochan, he had 18-11, 9 of 13 from the floor, 0-0 from 3, so that was interesting. He didn't take a 3. He also didn't get to the free throw line, which is another thing that was interesting, especially with the game that he was playing. Wemby, all-around game. He had 8 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. He only played the first half, I believe 17 minutes, and he put together that because it's Wemby, of course, but you could tell that he kind of started with the turnover and then he hit the big 3. Obviously, he had the great lob to Sochan, but the thing with Wemby, and we're going to break this down a little bit more because there's another article that touches upon some key points and aspects to this game that are going to be interesting to look at, that once he really gets down the playmaking aspect of his game and he can hone in how to make the great plays and not have the bad turnovers. Like, obviously we know Jokic is the one of one when it comes to that kind of stuff. But even someone like Sabonis will make the right play, but he'll limit the turnover. So you have to play him even a little bit differently than you normally would play a big who can pass well. Pau Gasol was another one who made great passes from the post, from the high post, elbow, nail, whatnot. And he was able to make those good passes, but he wasn't a high turnover guy you could really run off both Gasols, because Marc Gasol was good at that. And Wemby can definitely pass. He brings up the ball obviously more than they do, other than Jokic. But Wemby can absolutely pass. It's just that he's still young. He's still learning. So sometimes he'll try things and the defense will read him. Once he gets past that aspect of things, and once he's able to eliminate some of those unnecessary careless turnovers, it's gonna be special and it's gonna be spooky. But Spurs show promise, lack of consistency in the Heat loss. And so first thing, wasn't the prettiest game, of course. Second to last preseason game, we did get a glimpse of the Silver and Black, what they're going to look like opening night. Pop did shrink down the rotation for the majority of the game. He didn't go to the bench until later in the game. First half, I believe it was only a 9-man rotation. So we saw a lot of what we're going to see. We had the Paul, Champagnie, Barnes, Sochan, Wemby, which looks like it's going to be the starting lineup, so Champagnie in there for Vassell. We'll see if Barnes gets to stay in the starting lineup when Vassell gets back, or if it's Champagnie that goes to the bench. You saw Keldon Johnson, you saw Blake Wesley, you saw... It was basically the guys that you expected to see, you saw for majority of this game, and then obviously the bench players came in and did what they needed to do to pull this game to make it closer than it should have been, honestly. But some of the key points of this game: Wemby's progressed as a passer, huge impact on his development. Of course, when he gets to a point where you can throw it to him in the post, as I was saying, he gets doubled, he can kick it out to the right spot, he can already do that. But it's the smart passes, the quick passes before the double even comes. He's going to be working from the high post. It's maybe a 2-dribble, hit the backdoor cutter, or hit the cross court. It's those little ones that sometimes he can get careless with because he tries to do something, but maybe the pass isn't there strong enough, or he's already telegraphing the pass, so it gets picked off. He did it early in the game where he kind of drove from the left wing to the middle, tried to kick it out to the right corner, got picked off. One of the first turnovers of the game that kind of was almost a microcosm of how the game went. But if he can make those right reads, deliver quick passes, the offense is going to be taken to a next level, because then doubling him becomes a second thought. You can't just say, okay, we're going to throw 2 at him, make him into tough decisions. It's going to be, and it's hard to just like blitz him like a Steph Curry, obviously, because he's not a guard, clearly. So you can't just blitz him to get the ball out of his hands and then hopefully rotate afterwards. It's the problem that he shows because of his size and the shooting range. And then if he gets the passing to a level where he can get you 5-6 assists a game on maybe 2.5-3 turnovers. If he can have a 2-to-1 turnover ratio, that's when he's going to be at his highest peak. But he shows flashes. He showed it in the Olympics. He showed it last year. He's already shown it this year. And we're going to see high-level passing. And who also obviously hope to learn from high-level passing, the right angles, how to do it. Then Chris Paul. He's got Chris Paul there. So that's going to be something that could benefit him greatly. We got Zach Collins had a good day from inside the arc, scoring close to the basket. He is a good interior passer as well. He's smart. He plays very well off of Sochan. Sochan played very well off of him, even better so than Wemby. But Zach Collins is showing that he can be a guy that actually could fit on this roster. I know, other than Keldon Johnson, the biggest trade guy has been Zach Collins. Get him off the roster. We don't need him. We have other bigs that can fill there. We can get a wing for him, whatever. Just get him off the roster. I think that he's actually not going to be a terrible piece to continue to have. He's smart. He can give a spell. He can play offense well. He's a good rebounder. Defensively, can he slide the greatest? No. But at the same time, not many bigs of that stature can really slide that well. It's when you play team defense, you play smart, you'll be okay. And we got the perimeter defenders to not really get beat off the bounce too much. It's really just in the pick and roll game. Can you play well in drop coverage, and can we be smart getting over screens? And when you do have to switch, can you at least give us a possession or two out on an island? If you can do that, then things will be okay for you, and you can get your 18 to 23 minutes a game, giving Wemby his spells, giving Sochan his spells that's needed to be. But right now, he's showing to be in the paint more than outside of the paint, which is good. Obviously, he can hit a three, which is nice too, because in today's NBA, that's what you need. But hey, I think Zach Collins has played well, and I don't think that he needs to go anywhere. But then you have Jeremy Sochan, as I said, 18 and 11. He seems to work with Collins rather than Wemby. But I think that just has to do with the fact that when Collins has the ball, he's not getting doubled. He doesn't have the defensive attention. He doesn't have all five heads on a swivel like when Wemby gets the ball. So Collins is able to kind of work in that two-man game with Sochan, that high-low with Sochan. But when you've got Sochan in the dunker spot, and then you've got the alien coming downhill, and he's being able to get to the basket, whatnot, I think you're going to see a big rapport between those two, especially because with Sochan last year, he wasn't in his proper role, and he's now playing his proper role. So even though they have played a season together, they haven't played a season together properly. Obviously, it was a lot of trial and error last year, and now everybody has their role and has what they need to do. So this season's going to be great and has the potential to be great, but the season at bare minimum is going to be good. And then Stephon Castle didn't have his best game. It happens. That's fine. The shooting that he had over the first three games, where he was 42.9% from the three-point line, that was something that obviously we thought would continue, but he is not a 43% shooter because not many are. So he was going to have a game. He was 0-4, but the thing that I did like about Castle is he didn't try to settle too much. He did get downhill. He had 5 assists. Late in the game, he was trying to get to the free throw line. He understands what his strengths and what his weaknesses are, and as a point guard, I don't think he's bad right now at all. I think he's a pretty solid point guard that has the potential to be a good to very good just point guard. Player-wise, I think he has potential to be very good, multiple-time All-Star, all-defensive team, maybe even an All-NBA team, depending on how he develops. But as a true point guard, a facilitator of an offense, he's solid right now, and I think he has the potential to be good. And with that being said, you had Malachi finish with 16, 5 of 6 threes he missed. So the guards from the outside, there wasn't great shooting. But overall, I think that the Spurs played a solid game. There is a lot to take away from it. I think Sochan's something to take away from it. You had the good first half from Wemby. Chris Paul was shooting well. And if Chris Paul can be a formidable shooter and a guy that they actually have to worry about, that's just going to make his passing and make the offense move smoothly. But let me know what you guys think about the Spurs preseason game against the Miami Heat. Do you believe that these turnover problems will continue? Do you think Stephon Castle, was that just a 3-game stretch? Do you think he's actually going to be a better three-point shooter than the 27% he shot in college? What do you guys think about the rotations that Pop had? Do you think that maybe Riley Minix, who played very well prior, he didn't get any minutes? Do you think that that's something that should be concerned about? What do you guys think about this game here and moving forward with the Spurs? But this has been Spurs Digest with Keenan Warner. I appreciate all of you guys, and I will see you guys very soon.